AutoValue is a code-generating annotation processor that helps make your life easier by reducing the amount of boilerplate code you have to write. By giving it an outline of what you need, it can generate immutable value types for you. A value type, sometimes called a data type, is simply a class that represents some data that is considered equal to another value type if it contains the same data, regardless of Java object reference. In our case, we're going to create a user object with properties first name and last name. We could create this as a normal Java object with its properties and a static factory method. But what if we have two objects that represent the same person? If you ask Java if they're equal, it'll only return true if both objects have the same memory address, even though they both represent the same thing. The solution to this is to make our user object a value type. To do this, it needs a proper equals method that compares property values. If we ever want to include it in a set, or as a key in a map, it needs a proper hashcode method. And to be meaningful, it should also have a proper toString method that prints more than just the memory address. That can be a lot of work to do by hand, especially since all of this is fairly standard stuff. That's where AutoValue comes in. To get started, let's integrate it into a project to see how it works. To start, we need to add the Android apt plugin to our root build.gradle file. This plugin adds a dependency configuration so that we can include dependencies in Java's annotation processing class path, without including it in our final APK. This is important, especially on Android, so that we don't hit the infamous 65,000 DEX method limit. Next, we need to apply the same Android apt plugin to our application's build.gradle file and add the AutoValue dependency. Notice that the AutoValue dependency isn't added to the compile configuration, like most of our dependencies, but is instead added twice to the provided and apt configurations. As I mentioned before, the apt configuration provides the AutoValue dependency to the Java compiler's annotation processing class path. The provided configuration makes the classes visible to Android Studio, so it can autocomplete code for us. Now that we have the dependency, we need to add our value type. To create our user value type with AutoValue, we simply annotate the class with AutoValue, make it abstract, and convert the properties to abstract methods. That's all you need for AutoValue to generate all the code to back our value type. You may be wondering why we need to generate code to back such a simple class. But as I mentioned before, the semantics of value types is actually quite complex. To explore that, let's check out the code generated by AutoValue. As you can see, AutoValue generated quite a bit of code, including member variables, a constructor that checks that values aren't null, a meaningful toString method, and equals and hashcode methods. You could certainly use Android Studio to generate this code for you, but with AutoValue, you don't have to update any code or worry about forgetting to update any code when you change the class. If I add an age parameter, all of the other code will be updated automatically. If you look closely, you'll notice that this class isn't public. That's intentional, as one of the aims of AutoValue is to keep the implementation irrelevant, so you can easily replace it if you want to in the future. This means that you need to create a static factory method to construct your object. Now you have a fully usable value type that you can create by calling user.with. This nicely follows with Josh Bloch's first item in effective Java, consider using static factory methods. The use of abstract classes may seem a little odd compared to the idea of using interfaces, but it also offers a lot of flexibility. For instance, you can add computed values to your objects directly in the class. This allows you to add functionality to your value types that would have otherwise required utility classes. There are some other cool things you can add with AutoValue. Next time.